Hello and welcome to Enchantment of Eternity's live discussion on 12 different retcons of, of the Star Trek franchise. Joined by patron supporters Jordan and Brandon. Jordan, this was your idea. He sent me a list of, what was it, 20 or so
about 20.
retcons? And so he said pick 5. I'm like, I can't just pick 5. So I picked 11 and then I added one of my own. And then, so we came up with 12 that we're going to talk about. And of course, Brandon Neilhouse is also joining us.
Yeah, and then I think we may have to do a part 2 even, because after I sent you the list, I was like, oh, wait a minute, what about this retcon, this retcon, this retcon? But there's so fucking many. It's hard to just put one in it. So.
I thought of a few myself. I think it's because I am in the middle of covering Deep Space Nine and Voyager. Like, I already started watching the episodes for Voyager. That most of the retcons on the list are from Deep Space Nine and Voyager.
Oh yeah.
But there's a few from other places as well.
Yes.
Yeah.
And then the term retcon, I'm curious how many Star Trek fans don't even know what that word means, because I didn't know what that word meant until I joined your channel, Mark. In fact, I think, it was either you or your sister had to explain to me during a live chat what the heck retcon even means. At first, I thought you were saying Redcon the whole time. And hence the Redcon. And then Lissa's like, no. Retroactively, what? Like backtracking or just shitting on convention? I don't even know what Redcon is short for, to be honest with you. So, but.
All right, so in the chat, Norman, why you want to get on my bad side? You say my favorite episodes of Prophet and Lace, Endgame, The Muse, Subversa, and 2 of 1, and saying I lived in Australia for a number of years. Excuse me.
2 of 1 that may come up tonight.
We lost Brandon.
Brandon.
Hopefully he'll be back soon.
Yes, indeed.
He's retconning my life. Okay, I get it.
I retcon, you retcon. So, Mark, can you explain what retcon is? Because I met with my best friend yesterday for lunch, and I was telling him I was going to be on this podcast, and he said that he was like, "What's retcon?" And I had explained to him what retcon means. So I think some of Star Trek fans don't even know what retcon means.
I mean, retcon's not just a Star Trek thing.
Yeah, sci-fi.
Tons of
Star Wars.
Well, not even sci-fi. Any show, movie, franchise can be seen as retconning. Hold on one second. I just got a
rescue Brennan
message. Yeah.
Didn't realize he was so funny. It's hilarious.
Yeah. All right. Yeah. So retcon is when they change the backstory or the continuity and pretend like something that they didn't establish didn't really happen or is a different way, or they introduce something that is inconsistent with everything they had done before, which is, I think, the most common thing we'll be talking about tonight, is introducing something and being like, oh, well, we never said this didn't happen, but it actually doesn't really fit.
Right.
They try to shove it in and it doesn't really fit into it.
Back.
All right, Brandon. All right, Brandon, got your...
I'm not gonna fuck it up again. So,
all right.
I knew it.
Yeah, no worries. So you got all your technical difficulties sorted?
Yep,
though?
I'm good.
All right, cool, awesome. All right. So, well, by the way, I don't think I introduced properly. Jordan, is going, and Brandon, of course. Thanks so much for joining.
Friends.
Thanks for having me.
All right. So what's Norman saying in the chat now? In DS9, if you're a son and your name ends with an X, you disappear from existence after one episode. Oh,
He's not wrong. He's not wrong.
Cracks, and was the other one Drex? Cracks and
Yes.
Yeah.
That was Martok's son, I think.
It was, yeah.
Oh.
Disappeared. It was Grand Nagus' son and then Martok's son. They did the same.
James and Way of the Warrior.
How did an old geezer like Zek manage to father a child anyway?
You are Drex, son of Mortok. That's right.
Oh, I'm sure he paid for it. All right. Okay. So yeah, let's just go ahead and get started. We got 12 retcons to get through. So the first one in the list, and I try to do this in chronological order for the most part, is Wesley doesn't want to be in Starfleet. So this is referring to his turn in the episode Journey's End, where he shows up, is like all aggro and acting like a emo spoiled teenager and is being a dick to everyone. And he says, "Oh, I'm being a dick because I realize I don't want to be in Starfleet." And his father comes to him in the vision saying, "Oh, you don't want to follow my footsteps." So he drops out and becomes a traveler, which we'll get to that later. He becomes a traveler.
We should be talking about is Robert E. Lee's horse.
Yes, indeed. I did not know that. That's interesting.
Yeah, I guess the war.
But yeah. So I railed against this in my review for Journey's End. I went on a big tirade about it because Ronald D. Moore kept wanting to put Wesley, to have him drop out of Starfleet, like he wanted to do it in First Duty, but Michael Piller said no, and I agree with Michael Piller, but it seems like Ronald D. Moore kept like annoying him and kept bugging him over and over again. Eventually he was like, "Fine, do it." And I think it's completely and totally out of character for Wesley. I think the way he's been established from the very beginning is that he's going to be a Starfleet officer. I think the whole thing with the Traveler was setting him up to become a Starfleet officer eventually. And he's always wanted to be in Starfleet. He's always been a genius Starfleet officer. So it seemed out of place for him to all of a sudden just want to quit. So is this a good or bad retcon? We'll start with you, Jordan.
A bad retcon. Terrible retcon. This episode is terrible. And yeah, Journey's End, there are some parts I like. I do like the banter between the JF and Picard in the beginning.
Sure.
I do like the board meeting that they have with the Native American tribe on the planet. But other than that, yeah, I hate things. Steve Wesley. That scene with Geordi and engineering is almost completely unwatchable. I have to fast forward through it. I can't just watch it. It's just that bad. That scene where he's shouting out to the masses, you can't let them beam you up. They're going to try to kidnap you and, from the planet. It's just terrible. And, I just think that they didn't know what to do with him after he got, cashiered out of Starfield. He didn't get completely cashiered. Like he was only suspended for like 1 year, right? Or he had to repeat his like classes or something. He had
to repeat the last year. So he had to repeat a year. Yeah.
Yeah. So I just don't understand like why couldn't you just bring him back in just a different way? I don't understand the whole point of it. And you don't see him again. I think until Nemesis. For like 2 seconds.
Yeah, for 2 seconds. Yeah.
But no, it was a terrible episode. And
just to mention Nemesis, they had a deleted scene that would have retconned this.
The retcon.
Right. Yeah. But they didn't include it in the movie, so it didn't hold.
Right. Yeah. So and then becoming a traveler, that did kind of fall in line with what was established because he did meet the traveler, and I think it was in season 1. And they had already introduced that plot device, and having him become a traveler is I guess it's fine. But what I didn't like was his attitude. His character was just completely different. It wasn't just a retcon of his like character arc. It was just like a retcon of his entire personality, his demeanor, his just how he treats the other crew members. I didn't like any of it. It was just I just don't like watching it. So terrible retcon.
All right, so Brandon, we'll go to you. Is this a good or bad retcon?
It's a disgusting retcon. It's really, really wrong. He's just rude. I don't know, he's needlessly aggro. 2 senior officers, no less. And then this Indian guy shows up, this Native American guy shows up and says, "You are a spiritual person, Wesley." And I just want to go, yeah. Sorry, not my thing. Oh, and him saying, "They're going to beam you away." I mean, well, that's going to happen a few films down the road, isn't it? So, no, hard pass from me.
True.
And I agree. So we're all in agreement on this one. It is a terrible, terrible retcon. As I said, I railed against this in my review for this episode. It turns Wesley into a whiny, unlikable character. And it's completely out of character for him.
Never that likable to begin with. Come on, let's be honest here.
Yeah, okay, true, but it makes him worse because him being I actually liked him in First Duty. I thought, wow,
that's First Duty is really good stuff.
But then, this came along and completely ruined it. And I actually think it was out of character for him to join the Traveler, because when I watched that episode with the Traveler originally, it seems to me very clear that the Traveler is like, I don't want to interfere in his life. I'm just wanting to set up for him to be a great Starfleet officer. But now he not only is interfering, but takes him away and said, "Oh, come to all these." That's like completely inconsistent with it.
Yeah, because
can I just tangent just for a second?
Sure. Yeah.
Okay. Picard's ancestor that slew the Indian tribes? Really? Fuck off. No. That could be worse. But I'm open to debate on that.
Yeah, but like in Remember Me, the Travelers does come back to help Wesley complete some task, but he's a member of Starfleet. Well, he's full ensign, I think, at that point, but not completely, like technically, but didn't go to Starfleet yet, Academy. But I like the Traveler helping him be a better, like, established version of himself, I think would have been fine, like they did in Remember Me. If they could have done something like that, fine, but it's just, he was just not, I don't know what they were thinking, but terrible idea.
All right, so we're all in agreement on that one. So let's go ahead and move on to the next one. The Borg gets a queen. And this started in the movie First Contact, because the Borg has always been established before this point as having no leader. That was kind of the point of them, is that they were a collective group, and that made them scary, that there was no one leader they could fault or who would be. But because it's the movies, they're like, oh, we need all the big execs in the suits is like, we need to have one villain, one face to be the villain. And many people argued that this is what ruined the Borg, particularly when they bring the Borg Queen over to Voyager. And then I believe there's some show called Picard or something. I don't know. I tried to wipe that from but so having the Borg having a queen, good retcon or bad retcon? Brandon, we'll start with you this time.
It's a shithouse retcon. Sorry, the Borg don't need a queen, much less a queen who wants to fuck Data. That's just wrong. What am I? What? I speak straight. I can't help it.
That's good. Yeah,
totally unnecessary. And then they really fuck it up when they get to Voyager, and then when you get to Picard, they need another queen and another queen. Stop. Just stop. I'm not a monarchist anyway, so there you go. No queens, no kings.
She blew his arm hairs, is what Norman would say.
Yep. The graft skin, right? The graft skin.
I'm glad I can't see the chat, or I'd be laughing my ass off at this point.
All right, so as for me, I think this is the bad retcon. I didn't mind it so much in First Contact. Like, she was okay in First Contact. I do think it was unnecessary. I don't know, but I think it was unnecessary. I think they would have been better off without her. And then, of course, once we get the Voyager, like the Borg on the Voyager were actually good until they introduced the Borg Queen. And once they introduced the Borg Queen, that was the death nail in the Borg, and they became silly cartoon characters.
Janeway.
Janeway. And yeah, so because of that, and they never should have done it in the first place. Even though First Contact was okay, it would have been better off without her. So I think terrible retcon. Jordan, your thoughts?
So at first I was really open to the idea. I was a big StarCraft player back in the day. I don't know if you know what StarCraft is, but it's Blizzard Entertainment. Like they have this species called the Zerg, and they have a queen of sorts. So I like the idea of having like this powerful entity controlling the swarm, and then dictating where to go and who to kill and all that. So I thought it was cool at first, but when she came back in Dark Frontier, I didn't understand why she was back, because she clearly was murdered. And then the whole thing about being able to regenerate and have this queen, a new queen, played by a different actress. So I'm like, oh well, okay, that kind of makes sense. They have a new queen, but it kept on getting the retcon and the retcon again, and then she wasn't as menacing in Dark Frontier. I don't know. And then in Endgame, like it was again. It's like, is she really necessary? I didn't know at that point really. I was kind of neutral, I guess, at that point. But when Picard season 2 aired, that whole thing with Jurati and the Borg Queen taking over Jurati's body and then needing endorphins, so making her sing, was so fucking stupid that it turned me off forever. And I'm like, when I was hearing everybody, mostly you, well, Mark, bashing the Borg Queen like crazy, I'm like, no, I disagree. I don't think the Borg Queen's that bad of a character until I saw that episode. That episode has proven the haters right. The Borg Queen is now just completely laughable. Just, cartoon character, as you put it, Mark. And so I think that Picard season 2, I think, destroyed the Borg Queen as a character. So retcon's like going crazy. So terrible retcon.
All right, so let me ask.
In the end, but in the beginning, it was okay.
Yeah. So that's what I was going to ask. If Picard never happened, the Borg Queen was never in it, would it still be a bad retcon in your opinion?
I would say no. I would say I'd be neutral. I would.
Okay, so what if Voyager? She was never in Voyager either, and it's just First Contact.
Ooh.
I would say it was not a bad retcon.
Okay.
Yeah.
So just First Contact, good retcon. Voyager, neutral, and then Picard, terrible.
Yeah, and it's if they had used her maybe in a good way, like if Dark Frontier was actually a good episode, which it isn't. Sorry for those who don't know, it's a terrible episode. Maybe like it could have been because I do like the idea, like bringing her back as a different actress, because the Borg Queen can't be killed, because they will always have one. Like I kind of like that idea, because I thought of it was like kind of like a queen bee, like no matter what hive you go to, there will be a queen there, right? So I kind of thought that was a cool idea, but they just fucked up Dark Frontier so badly, because it was all over the place with, you got the Jensen storyline, and then you got the 7 of 9 storyline, and then you have so.
Well, we will be talking about Dark Frontier some more in this video, but the way they really fucked it up though is by because it was an interesting concept of the Borg Queen dies, but another person. So you think like another assimilated humanoid becomes the Borg Queen, but they fucked that up in Endgame when they brought back Alison Krieg. And I was like, well, wait a second. Now it just doesn't make any sense. But anyway.
Yeah, exactly. So in the end, bad. Looking at canon. Bad. Stopping at First Contact, good-ish. So that's where I stand anyway.
Yeah, I think it's bad all the way through. But it's just me. All right.
I'm keeping track, by the way. Bads versus goods.
Yeah, okay. So we're mostly in agreement on that one. All right, so okay. Next retcon is Nog wants to join Starfleet. So yeah, so Nog, I was just watching the first 3 seasons of Deep Space Nine, and Nog was this delinquent who was always in trouble. He couldn't read. Jake had to teach him how to read. He showed absolutely no interest in assimilating into Starfleet, a human or Federation culture. In fact, the episode right before the episode in which he came out saying he wanted to join Starfleet, he went on a double date with Jake and acting like he was disgusted by human customs and was being a misogynistic asshole. And the very next episode, we're led to believe he actually wanted to join Starfleet this whole time. And it feeds into another retcon, which I think we'll get to right after this one, which also happened in the same episode. But anyway, so good or bad retcon, I'm going to say bad. Because I think the fact that it's such a crazy. So here's the thing. My problem with the retcon, if we're like drawing the line, my line isn't drawn at the episode in which he joined Starfleet, because that I'm actually fine with. And I actually think for like season 4, when he was at the academy, he was still in character. He was still Nog. But when later seasons, when he came back from the academy, I think he was a completely and utterly different character. And I think the whole reason why they had Nog join Starfleet, which is so out of character for him, is because they didn't have Jake do it. I think it was a mistake not having Jake do it. They should have just had Jake do it so he could be the main character who was hanging out with the crew instead of it being Nog. Nothing against Aaron Eisenberg. I thought he was a great actor. That character annoyed the shit out of me in the first couple seasons, and the later seasons it was just like not even the same character at all. So I think it's a bad retcon.
He played a good
Jordan. Jordan, will go to you next.
He plays a good Kazon, right?
Oh my god, that was so terrible. Oh god, that was. Even
I didn't recognize his voice at all. Yeah.
Oh no, I instantly recognized him
me too.
as soon as I heard him. Yeah.
Yeah, me too.
But anyway.
Yeah. So, oh man, I don't. It's so out of like left field. Suddenly, he wants to be in Starfleet. And the thing is, like, I had seen most of season 3. I didn't start watching DS9 until season 3, so I did miss a lot of 1 and 2. So at that point, I didn't realize, like, I didn't know that he wanted to join Starfleet. But looking back, it's not established at all that he's interested, and I think what it had a missed opportunity here. They could have shown his progress to building up to that in season 1 and season 2. The whole storyline with him not being able to read, Jake helping him with his schoolwork. Like, I love coming of age stories and I love seeing character growth. So that was a missed opportunity. They could have built up to that and it would have been fine. But they probably didn't realize how much of a character, how much screen time he would actually get down the road, because he's, like you said in season 7, like I think he probably, if I had to guess, I think he gets more screen time than Jake does even.
Easily.
Towards 7 and 6, he's like in the show more than Jake is. So total retcon. There is something that really annoys me about it, and that is when in the episode Take Me Back to the House Seat in season 7, where they say, Kira, assemble a meeting of the senior staff now. And who shows up in the senior staff? Cadet Nog. Just total bullshit. Why is he a member of the senior staff? That just annoys me to no end. It's hard to say. I don't know if it's bad or good. I'm neutral on this one. I know why they did it. So I think in the end, it was a good idea because it did give them things to work with.
So you're going to say good? Is that your final judgment?
Yeah, I think I am.
Okay.
Yep.
All right. Brandon, how about you? Good or bad retcon?
Sorry, Mark. I think it's a good one. I think it's an act of desperation because he really doesn't want to be like his dad. Well, basically a loser. Never mind the loaves, but and I enjoy his journey. I enjoy him being a warrior. I particularly enjoy him being getting his leg amputated and the whole how the fuck do I deal with that kind of thing? Because
but they use Vic Fontaine to do that.
Yeah, I can even forgive that. Yes, you heard it here first, people. I can even forgive that. Mark, you might disown me for this, but I think that's a decent episode. So if you want to boot me off this stream, go ahead and do it. No, I think it's worthwhile. Sorry. No, I'm not. Fuck you. I'm not sorry at all.
Fair. Hey, I am not surprised at all that I'm in the minority on this one because I am overall, like Norman in the chat also saying good retcon.
Yeah, it's the character growth that I like, and he does have a lot of character growth. I do agree with you, Mark, that he does kind of seem like a little bit of a different character when he comes back from Starfleet. It's not like a character like Neelix, who's in season 1 of Voyager completely different, and then in season 7 he's completely. It's not a slow progression like it should be. I think it was a missed opportunity that they could have had that from season 1. Of course, it's kind of hard, retrospect, like who are we going to use down the road here? But there's a lot of episodes that he's in that I like. Yeah, I think it was a good idea in the end. I think it did more good than bad. How about that?
I just think it's very obvious that it would have been better if they planned for it all along. Like the way he was showed in the first 2 seasons was absolutely nothing. Like it's incompatible. So it's not like character growth. It's just incompatible with. It's like a totally different character. And Neelix was also retconned as well because he was a different character in season 1.
I'd rather see Nog being a soldier than Jake being a reporter. Mr. Wayoon, are you oppressing people?
Well, that's why I think Jake should have been the one who joined Starfleet and not Nog. I think they kind of shot themselves in the foot when they said, "Oh, I don't want to join Starfleet," because then they had no idea how to include him in the show.
I'm glad that they kept him on DS9, though. I think that was a good idea because it gave him something to do.
I mean, you get like episodes like The Muse. They had no idea. They had no idea how to write for him. Okay. All right, so let's move on. So the next retcon related to this, Rom becomes a mechanical genius. So again, and it's not just that he was not a mechanical genius, because in season 1, Quark tells Odo, "Oh, Rom fixed the replicators," and Odo's like, whatever, Rom couldn't fix a straw if it was bent.
Right.
And so that is definitely a change. But it's not just that he wasn't a mechanical genius. He also was a bit more conniving. He tried to throw Quark out an airlock, and he was a bit more despicable. Whereas later season Rom was actually lovable. He was a nice, lovable goofball and a genius, and he was just underappreciated, and that was introduced in the same episode where Nog joined Starfleet. That's when all of a sudden he's this mechanical genius in order to give Nog some motivation to join Starfleet. So Jordan, we'll start with you on this one.
So
is this a good or bad retcon?
Oh my god. That scene with Odo with Quark and season 1, that's the scene where Odo says Rom's an idiot. Correct?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah. I
mean, to be fair, Odo has said Rom was an idiot in several episodes.
Oh, yeah. He says it all the time. Yeah, he says it throughout the whole show. Like, Rom's an idiot. You have to excuse him. He's an idiot. I made the problem of letting my brother Rom handle these financial figures. He was explaining the karma, the gamma quadrant. Oh, man. This is really hard. I think that, again, in the end, it did more good than bad. I liked his character when he was kind of mischievous and kind of like trying to, maybe kill his brother, try to take over the bar. And I think that and there's a lot of episodes where his banter with Quark I like. I like him in season 6 a lot. I like when he married Lita. I like that kind of storyline. I think that his becoming I think it was good in the end. I think they found out what they wanted to do with him, and audiences obviously reciprocated to that, because otherwise they wouldn't have kept using him. So I'm gonna go yes.
So I'm just going to jump into the chat. Norman says, Rom opened the lock with no problem, necessary evil. So I will say they were gradually changing his character, but at that stage, he wasn't like a mechanical genius. He was just good at, destroying locks and shit. But at least they were gradually pushing him that way. But anyway, Brendan, your thoughts, Rom, good or bad retcon?
I'm not sure it works. I didn't realize this until Clay on the Penske file pointed it out, but Rom talks like a cartoon character from the 1940s, and if you watch him walk, he looks like he's got a full diaper all the time. Oh, come on, he's right.
That's true. That's true.
Yeah. This is not a revelation. But how can this guy go from gee, brother, I don't know, brother, and then he's building self-replicating minds? Sorry, no, it doesn't work for me. It doesn't work for me.
All right, so bad retcon for you. Okay,
I think so, yeah.
So for me, it might surprise people. I think this is a good retcon. Because it definitely is a retcon for sure. Like, he's a different character, but he's a better character. I like the dumb, happy-go-lucky, goofy, mechanical genius Rom way, but season 1, season 2 Rom annoys the fuck out of me. He's just and they play the joke off of him being stupid, like in Necessary Evil, which is otherwise good episode that has this joke at the end where he's screaming when the guy tries to kill Quark, and Odo's like, "It's over, your brother's fine," and then he starts screaming again because he actually wanted the bar. Like that was dumb shit. I'm so glad they got away from that. They got rid of it. I think he's a much more interesting, lovable character who fits in the show better once they made him better. So the whole thing with him going Grand Nagus was a bit too far, though. that was a bit crazy, but no. So I'm gonna say good retcon.
Yeah, and they did kind of like his expertise, right? His engineering prowess was always with locks, right? So in the episode Little Green Men, I think like Bashir and O'Brien were trying to get their dartboard, right? And they were trying to screw around with the lock, and like, oh my god, we can't get through this thing. And like, I've never seen anything so convoluted. You're never gonna get through that thing. So they kind of established like he's really good at like keeping shit safe, and there's the scene where in Where the Warrior, where Quark opens up his pistol box and there's a letter that says,
that was
Quark, I used parts of your disruptor to fix the replicator ROM. That was great.
And I love it. Like, Quark's like, "I'll kill him," and then
with
like, "With what?"
Yep, that was in season 4, so I'd already established because this is Heart of Stone, right? He's my father's a mechanical genius, and Yep. Okay. Okay, I'm keeping track.
You're keeping track. All right, he says good or bad. All right, so let's see. So the next retcon, the prophets become gods and Sisko is their Jesus. Now, some people might be like, what are you talking about, Mark? The prophets were always gods. Like, the Bajorans always worshiped them as gods. But in season 1, when they were first introduced, and this has been confirmed by Michael Piller, the original thought of them is that they were just weird aliens who live outside of time and space, and when they were sending out their orbs to try to contact life forms, they couldn't perceive what linear corporeal life forms were like, and the Bajorans saw their devices and mistook them for being gods, because as the whole saying, any advanced, super advanced civilization would appear to be gods to a lesser advanced civilization. And so that was a very sort of Star Trekian type thing that was going on. But then gradually, and I think this also, the thing with Sisko also went on the rant about this recently, but I don't think I released this video yet. But Sisko, when he was saying he was the emissary in the pilot episode, they were saying that he was the person who met the prophets, like who discovered the wormhole, essentially. And that was his only role. He's just the dude who discovered the wormhole. Then later, that just gradually gets more and more change. to the prophets are gods and they are protecting Bajor, and they have these devils that they're fighting with in the heavens with, and they purposely look over Bajor, and that Sisko eventually became like Jesus, and he was like the most revered figure in Bajoran religion and supposed to have all these magical powers, until we get to the worst part in season 7, where they reveal that Sisko's mother was a prophet, that she inhabited the body of a human being in order to birth Sisko, which makes, I mean, they're saying, oh, they're non-linear, but like, how come they didn't already know who Sisko was when they first met him then? Like, it's just, I don't know. I think they mishandled the whole outside of linear time. Like that, they just didn't understand that, and I think it doesn't match up with anything. Now, Brandon, we'll start with you on this one. Good or bad retcon?
I don't like it. Look, if the prophets don't understand linear time, how the fuck are they supposed to protect Bajor anyway? That's question one. And oh fuck me, Sisko's mother being a prophet. Please, no, I hate it. Stop. Sisko doesn't seem all that comfortable with being a sort of Jesus figure, so I feel quite sorry for him, actually. No, I'd rather it wasn't done. I admit I don't really understand the prophets.
So,
I'm not
bad
sure
retcon across the board?
Yeah, bad retcon, particularly Sisko's mum being a prophet. Nah, fuck that. And Sisko just buggers off. Sorry, guys. Sisko just buggers off. Well, I might see you tomorrow. I might see you yesterday. By the way, sorry for knocking you up. Nah, doesn't work.
All right, now let's see. Norman in the chat was saying, my joke is that the prophets were so impressed with the Sisko they decided to create him.
That's it.
Yeah, the Sisko. I was thinking that there was a movie in 2016 that handled this whole non-linear time so much better. It was so much better. I can't say what the movie is because that's a spoiler for that movie. But if you know, it handles it so much better. But anyway, as for me, I'm leaning bad retcon. Yeah, I can't. No, I'm not leaning bad retcon. I'm full bad retcon. There were some episodes that dealt with Sisko being the emissary that I thought were okay, that I thought were fine. But the prophets intervening during sacrifice of angels, like that was cool. Like I had no problem with that. But I like what Michael Piller was going for in season 1 better. That these are just strange aliens and other species interpret them as gods, and we don't question that. Like they don't challenge. Sisko respects Kira and the Bajorans' belief that they are gods, and they just leave it at that. But actually making them gods, and I think the whole thing with Sisko's mother was a bridge too far. That's what drives this from just being a somewhat bad retcon to a very bad retcon. Like that was just ridiculous. And it's hard for me to watch those season 7 episodes without going like scoffing every time they mention that on screen. But anyway, Jordan, good or bad retcon for this?
I'm leaning towards good for a few reasons. In the first season, the 20th episode, the last episode of season 1, where Kai Wen comes on board the Enterprise and fights with Keiko in the classroom about are the prophets aliens or are they gods? So this kind of back and forth has kind of been going on since the beginning of the show, where the Bajorans, the Bajora, think that the prophets. Only a true Star Trek fan would get that joke. Where the prophets are gods. That's what the Bajorans believe. But it's like you said in the first episode. Yeah, they're aliens. They created the wormhole. I do love how they introduced how they go into like, yeah, we don't understand nonlinear time. Are you capable of communicating with me? You and I are very different species, and it's going to take time for us to communicate. I love how they handle all that in the first episode. And the only there's a couple things I don't like about the Sisko connection between the prophets and Bajor. that whole thing with I shouldn't marry Cassidy Yates because the prophets told me not to. I don't think that his going from, oh, the prophets are aliens and I'm going to do whatever I want and I'm kind of uncomfortable in this whole emissary role, to, oh, well, I'm going to listen to whatever the prophets tell me to do. I am not going to marry Cassidy. I know he winds up marrying her in the end anyway, but the point is he's a lot more open to listening to their conversations. I think that the progression could have been handled better from his acceptance that the prophets are now gods. And there's other hints to this too, how his attitude towards them has changed when he's like, I want to live in Bashir for the rest of my life. I want to build a home on Bashir. Bashir's not my home. I think that is kind of a good character progression for Sisko. I think it could have been handled better. I think they could have built on it a little bit better. But for me, I think it's a good retcon.
Okay. All right. Noman in the chat saying, lean almost bad. I ask, why does Sisko have to be part prophet? I mean, while at that point we had our first major character captain being alien, Sisko, this was not the way to do it. Why can't Sisko just be the emissary? I mean, otherwise, does that mean one of Ducat's parents is a Pal Wraith?
All right.
And I think that's a good point. That is a very good point. But technically, I don't know. You could say Sisko's an alien, but technically he's still a human because the prophet inhabited the body of a human being to produce him. So it's still human. He was just arranged. His birth was prearranged by these aliens. But either way, that is just dumb, I guess. But anyway, so yeah. Two bads and one good.
Yeah, too bad, one good. I'm glad we have three people here. That's why I rank this tie.
All right. So next, here's the big one.
Oh yeah.
Bashir becomes genetically engineered. So this was revealed in the 5th season episode, Dr. Bashir, I presume.
Yep.
It was the big twist of that episode that he was genetically enhanced and he had everything, enhanced, the hand-eye coordination. He was enhanced since a young kid. His father went to prison because of this, but they let him remain in Starfleet, even though they're not really cool about this. And yeah, absolutely everything I've been watching in the first 4 seasons contradict this. Like, they try to make the excuse of, oh, well, he was just hiding it the whole time. But there's some clear things, such as like the way he's playing darts and losing to O'Brien. It's clear that he's not pretending, that he's not hiding it. And hell, he has this friend that from Starfleet Academy who got the valedictorian over him, and he was jealous of her. Like, if he was genetically engineered, he wouldn't be like, and he got drunk with O'Brien over it, and just so many things. And this like radically changed his character. So I'll start with this one. I think this is a bad retcon. I think it is, in fact, maybe the worst retcon that Star Trek has ever done. And to me, it signifies lazy writing. Like, instead of, because they clearly had this character, the Bashir, like, oh, we don't know what to do with him. Let's just say some cool genetically engineered sci-fi shit. And instead of actually coming up with creative stories to make him a more interesting character. And he was already interesting. By season 5, he was actually already an interesting character. He did not need this. This was totally unnecessary. If you want to introduce a genetically engineered character, introduce a character. And maybe you can introduce them as normal and then reveal later that it's genetically engineered. Don't take a character that very clearly is not genetically engineered and say, oh, he's genetically engineered. And that be his, from that point onward, that was his main character trait. That was the main thing they focused on with him. And I think that was distracting. I think they could have done a better job by just trying to write for him more interesting, make him a more interesting character. And it's just, this retcon is just so out of left field, which is, and so contradictory to everything that came before, which is part of why I think it's the worst. So anyway, Jordan, we'll go with you on this one.
100% agree. Terrible retcon. I hate this retcon. I've always hated it. I've been rolling my eyes since I was 12, or however hell I was when I saw this episode first. They didn't have to do it. What was wrong with his character? Nothing. Like, he could be smart. why didn't they just? I don't understand. Like the episode where he goes and he tries to help all the other genetically engineered patients. He could have just done that on his own. What was wrong with his original character just going to do that? He's a smart doctor. He could have tried to help them. They could have had that storyline without him being genetically engineered. Number one. Number two, that whole scene in Dr. Bashir, I presume, with the Admiral coming on board and whether or not they're going to discharge Julian or keep him on board. That whole speech about, oh, well, we don't want another continuity thing. Okay. You can have that conversation. You can have that episode where you go revisit, that storyline in the original series. That's fine. Like they could have had that without putting Bashir in this like kind of like situation where now he's genetically engineered. I don't understand why they had some good stuff with it, but they could have had it without him being genetically engineered. I hate how in season 6 where they hijack the Jem'Hadar, didn't hijack it. They had it from they had that Jem'Hadar ship and then they go use it to try to destroy the Ketracel White facility. And he's doing all these calculations and bullshit. And I'm like, this is stupid. Like, it wasn't necessary. It was not necessary at all. And then they kind of drop it. Like, it's like it's like in front of your face in season 6. And then suddenly it's just kind of like pushed to the side. And yeah, it's just, I hate it. I hate it. I hate this retcon. Number 1 on my list. I hate this retcon. So that's where I stand.
All right, so in the chat, we have automated personnel unit saying, I liked Patrick, Admiral Patrick. Well, that's a stupid question. But anyway, I don't know. Those whole genetically engineered dudes, it was too much of a one flew of the cuckoo's nest take for my taste. And then, so Tig Black saying, shit, I'm being convinced. I like this retcon. Well, anyway, Brandon, this Bashir, good or bad retcon?
Yeah, I think it's a bad retcon. I'm not sure they ever really knew what to do with Bashir. First, he turns out being this really patronizing prick. Oh, I wanted to go to the frontier, and Kira tears him a new one, and then he's totally got the hots for Dax, and he's like stalking her everywhere. And I'm like, oh, come on, man. Grow up. And if they'd have done more stuff with him and Garrick, I think that would have been better. But the genetic engineering shit, nah, don't buy it. Post-ganglionic nerve, whatever. I can't even remember how it goes. It's just silly. And it makes him look silly, which is worse. So, yeah, I'm not for it. Fuck it. Thumbs down.
Like I think he had a wit about him that I liked. Charm, even, to be honest with you. But Tane said is all, or a Starfleet officer all as witty as you are. He's like, I doubt it. He's like, yeah, I'd probably agree with you here. I thought his character was fine. I liked Bashir. He's not my favorite character in DS9, not by a long shot, but I thought his character was fine as it was. They didn't have to do this whole bullshit with him being genetically engineered. So bad.
Yeah, I think in the first couple of seasons, I think Bashir was annoying, and that they obviously didn't know how to write for him. But I think by season 3, he was a good character.
Yeah,
and there was no reason to add in this thing. By season 5, it was already like handled. They just need to write for him better. I feel like they use it as a crutch, and it was kind of lazy writing, and that's what
I've thought of something. May I?
Sure, go ahead.
Okay, I'm a bit troubled that twice in the series, Bashir falls in love with people that he's treating. 1, Melora. 2, Serena Douglas, the mutant, the one who doesn't speak. And, well, that seems very unprofessional behavior to me. Sorry, that's what I wanted to say.
I will say the second one with Serena, at least the episode was telling us that. The moral was that was bad behavior, and that's what he had to learn.
Yeah.
That it was a mistake for him to do that. Whereas Melora, the episode didn't seem to know that that's actually a terrible thing. And so that's why that was
fine. Don't you guys do EVA? Bunch of dumb shitheads.
All right, so Tyler, hello, how's it going? In the chat, had a question. What are some other terrible retcons that almost happened besides Harry Kim being an alien from the Delta Quadrant and Kira being a Cardassian? And the only answer I came up with, Norman in the chat already said, which is O'Brien being a Cardassian, because apparently that episode, that Second Skin, the original idea was to have O'Brien actually be a Cardassian the whole time. But the reason why they
thank God they did not do that.
Yeah, I know. But the reason why they didn't do that is because they couldn't figure out how he could have had a human baby with Keiko. He was a Cardassian the whole time. So yeah, that would have been so terrible.
Oh,
but I can't really think of any other ones off the top of my head that almost happened that they avoided. Oh, it's not so much a retcon, but the thing that I think the biggest thing that they avoided, that thank God, was Ira Stephen Bear wanted to end the show of Deep Space Nine by revealing it was all inside Benny Russell's head.
Oh, because of Far Beyond the Stars. Yeah.
Really?
Really?
Oh my.
I heard about that.
That would have been so terrible.
That would be so disappointing.
Yeah. Sisko. All right. Oh, you know what? Actually, no, this is a retcon that did happen, so I can't. Well, it's not on our list. I'll just throw it out there. The whole thing with Chakotay and Seska's baby and being like, oh, that's not Chakotay's baby. That's actually Mos Kola's baby. I hated that retcon.
Or the fact that she's even Cardassian. That's a retcon. I mean, we could go on and on. Like, I feel like that's a retcon. I mean,
it is, but I actually think that's a good one. But anyway, all right. So let's move on to the next one on our list.
We'll do a part 2 down the road.
Yeah. The next one on our list is the Vorta lose their psychokinetic powers and become clones. So this was originally in your original list. It was listed as 2 retcons. I kind of joined them together because it was about the Vorta. It was like Wayne being a clone. That was all just an excuse to bring Jeffrey Combs back. Like they definitely did not have that idea of cloning in mind. They're like, oh shit, how can we bring this actor back? We killed them on screen. Let's say they're clones. So that was definitely a retcon. And the telekinetic powers, like, in season 2, when they were first introduced, they could shoot these things from their neck, and it would like these energy balls that could hit people, and then that's never seen ever again. So I think are we up to Jordan starting first? Yeah. So Jordan, good retcon or bad retcon?
Good retcon, 100%. I didn't even think twice about it. Wei-Yun is an amazing character. I don't care what clone he is. My favorite scene is when the two Wei-Yuns are speaking to each other on the runabout, and I think it's Wei-Yun 7 who's talking to Wei-Yun 6 and says to him, yes, my predecessor was unfortunately killed in a transporter accident. He looks over at Damar with that scrawl. Only Jeffrey Combs can pull that off. So I love the whole idea of a cloning, kind of like Wei-Yun coming back to life, and he's slightly different, but always so evil, and you know, where opens up this possibility where Wei-Yun 6 is all now kind of different, and maybe something happened, and he didn't really go into a lot of details on why he's so different than 5 and 7 and 8, but I love Wei-Yun and Damar. I love Wei-Yun and Gul Dukat. I love Wei-Yun and the female changeling. With Odo, he's an amazing character. I'm so glad they brought him back. And I was a little sad he died in the last episode. But he had it coming. He had it coming. The whole thing with the psychic powers, yeah, didn't really need it. They just kind of like, yeah, just got rid of it. And I'm like, whatever. They do that all the time in Star Trek with the Cardassian helmets, the same thing, right? I get it. Like, I think it was the awesome 100% good retcon on me.
All right, Brandon, the Vorta, good or bad retcon?
Good retcon, but only because Jeffrey Combs. If it had been someone else, I don't think it would have worked out as well. But Jeffrey Combs, with his politeness and his menace, it's the menace and the politeness that really get me. He's actually being scary as fuck and being polite at the same time. And just how he interacts with Odo. And, well, everybody, really. So, yeah, good retcon for me.
We're all in agreement on this one.
Yeah, first one.
And Take Black.
Guys.
What? No, we were all in agreement for good earlier.
All agreement for good. I think we.
Okay, yeah.
We were all in agreement for good, but we've been in all agreement for bad. I think twice.
Okay, right. You're keeping track.
I'm keeping notes. Are you kidding me?
Somebody's keeping score.
Yeah, and Take Black in the chat saying 110% good. Pretty much all agree. This, the telekinetic thing I can take or leave. Like, I don't think that's either good nor bad. I think it would have been interesting if they kept it, but them not keeping it is fine. I don't have an issue with it. But the Weyoun cloning thing, it's a good retcon because they use this excuse to bring the great actor back. And actually leaned into it and made it an interesting plot point and really played with this on season 7. Like you're talking about the different Weyouns in that treachery, faith, and the Great River episode. And just all the different, cloning, it kind of makes sense. It fits into the Founders because they genetically engineered the Jem'Hadar. So yeah, I think this is definitely a good retcon, and it is definitely great. It was smart of them to come up with this in order to get Jeffrey Combs back on the show. They never should have killed him off.
Don't forget Iggy Pop. Just by the way, don't forget Iggy Pop.
Oh, Iggy Pop. All right. Yeah, we should have seen the clone of him.
Yeah, he's such a phenomenal actor. And just his mannerisms, the way he speaks is just so good. And I think that's my favorite Weyoun scene is when he's talking to Damar. He turns his head to Damar with that scrawl on his face. Because, by the way, I want to ask you this, Mark. Do you think that Damar killed him? Do you think that Damar killed Weyoun, that transporter accident?
Yes. I think that was heavily implied because he was like, we still have to look into that whole transporter accident. And Damar's like, what?
I was called away on Cardassia. I had nothing to do with that. So you think he was murdered? You think Damar killed him then?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. But bear in mind, he knew that they would just make another clone of him. It was kind of probably just taking out some anger or whatever. But, all right. So, let's see. What are we up to now? Alexander wants to be a warrior. So in the 6th season of Deep Space Nine, we get Alexander once again did a huge jump in age. So he went from being He went from being 8 to 18. Yeah. From 8 to 18 within 2 years. Okay. And he went from being born to being 18 in 5 years or something, or 6 years or something like that. But anyway, so he shows up on the Klingon ship and he is joined up with the Klingon forces and he wants to be a warrior. And they try to excuse this by Worf being like, I don't understand. He said he didn't want to be a warrior. He's like, oh, I don't know. Fuck you, Dad. Leave me alone. I want to be a warrior now. And he's terrible at his job. And he, is goofy and fucks up all the time, and he remains in the Klingon forces. Even when the episode Firstborn and TNG highly suggest that he would become an ambassador when he grew up. So, Brandon, we'll start with you. Good or bad retcon?
Bad retcon, because in the end, Alexander is just a joke. He is the mascot that you laugh at. He's the kid at school that fucks up, that everybody says, "Oh, isn't he funny?" Because I was that kid at school too. And, well, I think I wanted to be a warrior, but I don't think Alexander did. So, yeah, it must be really hard on Worf. He's a shit father. Alexander's grandparents aren't all that great either. So, no wonder the poor bloke doesn't know what he wants. But, yeah, just falling down just for shits and giggles, nah. Not my thing.
So
He was meant to be an ambassador. It says so. He was whatever it was, Gimtac to the House of Moog or whatever. I've forgotten the word. Do you know what I mean?
yeah, I know what you mean. I can't remember it either, but yeah. Norman in chat was saying that Alexander was definitely a changeling in disguise. Alexander was back on Earth.
I hadn't
with his
considered that.
grandparents. Yeah, I don't know what that changeling's goal was, to be a goof off. I don't know. Maybe he meant to sabotage the Klingon fleet. But no, you're writing better than the actual writers are. so no, like, yeah, terrible retcon. Really horrible retcon, bad retcon. And I would make the argument that I think Worf was a decent father, particularly by the end of TNG. I think he came off as someone who, just met his son when his son was already 6 or whatever, even though he should have been 2. But he just met his son, and he didn't really know how to be the father, and he was struggling with being a single parent. And I think by the end of that episode, Firstborn, I think he actually learned to respect his son and his wishes. And then Deep Space Nine came along, and that's what turned him into a terrible shit father, because he abandoned him once again, sent him back to live with his parents on Earth, and didn't even keep track on him, and wasn't even aware of the fact that he joined the Klingon fleet. Like, this whole storyline, like, utterly annihilated and destroyed Alexander's character. I don't care about the fact that he's coming off as a different character. It's that they just make him a goof off that everyone makes fun of. Like, why is he doing this? Like, he should be in the Federation. He always wanted to join the Federation and be more like a human. I don't know why the fuck he would do this, and it just to do it to spite his father or whatever is not a good reason. It's lazy. It's just terrible, bad. It's Jordan, your thoughts on this?
I'm so glad you brought up Firstborn, because in the first scene, opening scene, he clearly says to his dad, "I don't want to be a warrior." Right? He says it right to his face, and he walks right out of his quarters. Clearly established that's not who he wants to be. He has too much of his mom in him, and she's an ambassador. He wants to be an ambassador. That was also clearly established. And I liked that kind of relationship between Worf and Alexander, and that opening scene I really like in Firstborn. And yeah, it's the whole clash of cultures. I love that. But it doesn't make any sense. It's like, if you wanted to bring him back, because I understand why they did. They wanted to have a contrast between Ziyal and Alexander. Okay. Couldn't you think of something else? Like, couldn't you have thought of something else? I mean, Worf was on a Klingon ship at the time. I mean, I don't know. I just, like, every time I watch Sons and Daughters, I fast forward. I fast forward through half of it. I can't even watch the Alexander scenes. They're so bad. The actor they got is terrible. He's whiny. He's just doesn't belong there. It's so just hard to watch. It's cringe. It's totally cringe to watch. And I fast forward through it. I just watched the Gul Dukat and Kira and Ziyal storyline. Storyline I like, by the way. It's terrible. It's a terrible decision. I think he was in 2 episodes of DS9, maybe even 1, and they never brought him back. I mean, terrible idea.
I've thought of something.
Yep.
I also blame Loxana Troy for saying, "Oh, I knew this warrior called Alexander," and I think she may have led him astray rather a lot. So, yeah, it's also her fault. There you go.
Yeah, I'm good with that. Everything's always Lux and a choice. So. All right. So we'll move on to Voyager, now getting into Voyager. So the next retcon is Janeway regrets her decision to destroy the array. So this is, if I understand correctly, referring mostly to the episode Night
Yes.
in season 5, where she locked herself in her room for, I think, 3 months or something like that, and like refused to talk to anyone because she's like super depressed about like the fact she stranded them in the Delta Quadrant, and regretting her self-doubting and second guessing herself and regretting her mistake. And she shuts herself off, and the excuse they gave in the episode was that, oh, it's because they had nothing to do and they're in a black void, and that given her time to think and reflect. Bullshit. Here's what I say. So this is a bad retcon, very bad, because this is what I say. If you want to do the storyline, fine. Do it in season 1. Season 5 is too late.
Yep.
Too late to do the storyline. It's destroying her character. It's making it very clear that the writing is so inconsistent on this character. The writers can't make up on their fucking minds what to do with this character, what character traits to give her. Like, she was actually a decent character in the first 2 seasons, but then they just going back and forth and back and forth. And they said, oh, let's have her lock herself in her room. I'm like, bullshit. There's no reason she would do this. Like, if she was upset about this is shit that she would face back in season 1 or season 2 at the latest. So yeah, terrible retcon. Jordan, your thoughts?
I 100% agree. I couldn't believe it when I first heard it. When Chakotay confronts her in the quarters and says, why are you picked a hell of a time to lock yourself in your room away from your crew. Your crew needs morale boosters right now. They need to see you. You need to be out there with them. And then she goes into this whole spiel about, oh, well, I regret my decision of destroying the array. It was a selfish decision. I couldn't fucking believe my ears when I heard it. The very first fucking episode, she clearly says to B'Elanna on the bridge, I will not allow the Ocampa to die. We have no choice. We have to destroy the array for our convenience. I'm not going to allow the Ocampa to die. In the first fucking episode, she says that. And she backs up that decision for the entire show until Night, which I like. I like that episode, but I couldn't believe this scene. I hate this scene so much. She sounds completely out of character. The lines are bad. The delivery is bad, because I don't even think Kate Mulgrew believed it. And that episode could be made better, I think, with Janeway trying to like cheer the crew up and actually try to be a captain. I hate that. Just that one scene really bothers me. And towards, I'm trying to remember, like, in the rest of the show, going into season 7, does she reiterate this, that she actually regrets her decision to destroy the array? But yeah, off the top of my head, I can't think of another example. But this is one is bad enough for me to be a bad retcon. So.
Yeah, so I'm not a huge fan of this episode anyway, because it's got the Malon, and the Malons are Captain Planet villains. Captain
Planet.
Sorry. Every time I see him on screen, I just sing that song in my head. Captain Planet. Anyway, so Brandon. Brandon, good retcon or bad retcon?
I don't know this episode well. I can't remember it. But I'm going to say bad, because Janeway is consistently badly written, in my opinion. This is the woman who said, I will blow up this ship before I give it to the Kazon. So, they don't know what to do with her. They never have.
Yep. So I like Night because the music is phenomenal. I love listening to the music one more time at night. It's amazing. When they actually leave that expanse and they get back into civilized space, right? When the crew is all looking at the view screen and it's kind of, hey, we're getting into this new journey. Like, I love that story of the journey from getting lost in the Delta Quadrant, trying to make it back to Earth. And it's not something they do enough, not even close. So when they actually do it, it's like, oh, this is why I love Voyager so much. I love the journey to get back home, right? And this is a big step towards that journey. There's a lot of things about Night I like too, but I hate that scene so much. I can't even. Sometimes I just fast forward. Pretend it doesn't exist.
So in the chat, Norman is saying, I liked Night, but that seemed late. When Chakotay brings up to Tuvok how they don't always agree, that made me even more season 1, made it seem even more season 1 or 2.
Right.
100%.
Yeah.
100%. And I think season 5 of Voyager overall, they started retconning all the characters. Like they didn't know what to do with any of them. Like they were just totally changing their characters. Chakotay like boxing all of a sudden. But anyway. Anyway, so we're all in agreement. Oh God,
you are in our space.
You are in our space. If you stay here, you will be destroyed. But anyway, So all right, so let's see. Next is Species 8472 go from space Nazis to thinking that Starfleet are the bad guys. So this is referring to the 5th season episode In the Flesh, where the Species 8472 recreated Starfleet Academy to test people to go on a mission or to infiltrate the Federation, and they duplicated everything perfect. The Starfleet Academy looks so much alike to the books on the shelves, to the ground, to everything, and everyone knows how to act like Starfleet Starfleet officers, and yet they don't even know that the Federation isn't even in the fucking Delta Quadrant. Like, they don't believe Janeway. They're like, oh, you're lying. I'm like, how can you know every fucking thing about the Federation and not know they're from the Alpha Quadrant? Like, that is the dumbest shit. But that's not the worst part of the retcon. The worst part of the retcon is that in Scorpion, Species 8472 were portrayed as space Nazis. They were genocidal. They were xenophobic. They wanted to wipe out. They considered all other aliens of non-fluidic space to be like ants, that they needed to be exterminated. They made that super clear. They kept saying, what was the phrase that they said? It was
all
like
will perish. The weak will perish. The weak will perish. Yeah, that's what it is. And so, that's how it's portraying them. It's saying them all as weak and that they just they don't even respect their lives at all. And then all of a sudden, season 5 comes along. And they're like, oh, we thought you were the bad guys because you made an alliance with the Borg. We actually want to be friends. Bullshit. Bullshit. But anyway, I won't get into my opinion. Who is starting? Oh, start with Jordan this time. This is my least favorite episode of Star Trek Voyager. I think it is the worst episode of the show. It is worse than Coda. I think it is worse than Threshold. I think it is worse than Ex Post Facto. It's worse than Tuvix. I hate this episode with a passion. I hate it so much. It completely retcons the entire species of 8472. They go from this menacing, like terrifying, species that want to slaughter everything, including the Borg, to these doppelgangers which act completely human. They don't act like species 8472 does at all. I mean, they just act human. And they're like, oh, we're humans in disguise, but we act completely human. It's so fucking stupid. They act human, and they act like I just don't. It doesn't make any sense. It makes no fucking sense. When you watch it again, you watch it one more time, knowing that it's species 8472. They don't act like an alien species. The people talking act like humans. The girl that wants to make out with Chakotay acts like a human. You're telling me a species 8472 wants to make out with humans, wants to kind of dive into that part of the human psyche? Bullshit. Cringe. The whole thing with the I gotta inject my serum into my leg so I remain human. Okay, that's bad enough, but the fact that species 8472 is just, it's laughable. It's ridiculous. That whole scene with Boothby and Janeway in the meeting room or in the waiting room debating whether or not the Federation is the enemy, and it was so terrible. I don't even know where to begin. You were mentioning that how could they not know that they were in the Delta Quadrant? Yeah, 100%. How would they even know? How would they even know to recreate Starfleet Academy so well with all of these nuances and all of these details, and not know they're in the fucking Delta Quadrant? It's a complete. In fact, I think this episode destroyed Species 8472 as a character or as a species. They literally, I don't think they're ever brought back again.
No, they never appear again.
Are they in lower decks? Are they in lower decks or no?
I don't think so. No.
Okay, I don't think they are either. This is, in my opinion, In the Flesh is the worst episode of Star Trek Voyager. It's terrible to watch. I can't even get through it half the time. Anyway, so sorry to be so negative on that one.
All right, so Brandon, the Species 8472, good or bad retcon?
It's a shithouse retcon. Sorry. Look, it's a long time since I've seen this episode too, but I can remember the first time I saw Species 8472, and they were literally scarier than the Borg. Now that takes some doing, but this, how do they know about stuff? Like, are they telepathic? Can they read people's minds? They can, can't they? Because doesn't Tess get telepathic vibes off them?
Yeah, they can communicate telepathically with Cass, but I don't know. I'm guessing that they didn't go to, that library where Daniels took Archer to learn all about the future. I'm guessing Species 8472 didn't go there, or else they would have known that Star Trek, that Starfleet Academy was on Earth and not in the fucking Delta Quadrant. I'll pass. Shitty retcon. So
I gotta say something. So if you were unfortunate enough to watch this entire episode and you sit through the credits, you are presented with the next amazing episode called The Disease. And The Disease is the episode where Harry Kim fucks an alien and becomes becomes luminescent, right? Which is itself another retcon because you're not allowed to fuck aliens. Since when?
Yes, someone tell Kirk this.
Someone tell Kirk this. Someone tell Picard this.
Someone tell Janeway this. She was making out that dude in season 1. I
know. Yeah, Prime Factors. Right. She's totally making out with God, the hell was his name? I know who you're talking about. Yeah, or just Chakotay in the previous fucking episode was making out with Species 8472. What the fuck? And then they go and say, "Oh, you're not allowed to have relations with an alien," and it's so stupid. Sorry.
So anyway, so obviously we're all in agreement on this one. I also think is a terrible, terrible retcon. I think I had this in my top. It was definitely in my top 10 worst episodes. I don't know if it was my top 5. There's the fight in Tuvix will always be worse. I have more issues with those episodes, but what they exactly. But now what they did here, it completely ruined Species 8472. Like Norman and Chaz pointing out, that did not appear in Lower Decks, and this was their final appearance because they destroyed their characters. Like the only way they could have appeared after this is if they pretended this episode didn't exist. If they tried to retcon this episode out of existence, that's the only way you could show them again, because it completely ruined them. Not only is it totally out of character for them, it makes them a generic, less interesting race, whereas they were scary. Like the whole point of Scorpion is like, look at these new bad guys, they're even scaring the Borg. Oh my god, they're so fucked up, they want to kill everyone. God, they're so scary. And then all of a sudden they're like, see, Prey I didn't mind too much because that was just a lone member of the species trapped and they were being hunted by the Herodians, so then you can have a little bit of sympathy for them, I guess. But what they did here is like they completely rewrote them, and it just made them way less interesting and destroyed them. So yeah, this terrible retcon.
Hate this episode.
All right, so let's see. Penultimate retcon for the evening. Putting 7 of 9 on Voyager was the Borg's plan all along. So this is from the episode Dark Frontier, where it was revealed the Borg Queen said that she had placed 7 of 9 on Voyager in order to do recon, to gather information about Voyager, because her whole plan was to create a genetically engineered virus based off of the human beings, and she used that knowledge to create this virus to try to assimilate everyone on Earth, or some bullshit like that. And so 7 of 9 was, they said that the Borg Queen purposely put her there. Anyone who's seen the episode Scorpion, which aired like just a little bit over a year before this episode aired, can tell that is completely full of shit. There is no way that 7 of 9 was purposely put there. The whole thing about her being on Voyager was just a coincidence, and 7 of 9 tried several times to assimilate the whole crew and take over the ship. Don't tell me that she was a plan. It was just a happenstance that Janeway happened to sever her from the collective. It was definitely not planned. Don't even get me started this whole James Bond villain plan to fucking assimilate people on Earth. Were you gathering genetic information on humans? If you've assimilated humans, you have all the fucking genetic information you need. And not to mention the fact Endgame reveals they have a transwarp fucking hub where they could instantly send a fleet of Borg ships. If they wanted to assimilate Earth so badly, they could have done it like that. Why the fuck are they doing messing around with viruses and putting people? This is the... All right. Sorry, I wasn't supposed to go first. But anyway, Brandon, we'll start with you. Good or bad retcon?
It's a shit-ass retcon. Sorry. What a load of rubbish. I mean, look, 7 does not want to be there. That's clear. So why? I don't understand why. It's just, oh, let's do it this way. Nah, don't buy it. Sorry, it's just bullshit. Let's make the Queen more interesting. Guess what, guys? It's not going to work.
So I don't know. I wouldn't go as far as to say this is the worst retcon, but it's the dumbest. It's the one that insults my intelligence the most. Like, you're trying to tell me that 7 of 9 was put there by the Borg. The fuck off. Like, and the whole thing with, oh, we're gonna do these James Bond villain plots. Like, that's bullshit. Like, that's so dumb. This is what I'm talking about before when I talked about Voyager ruined the Borg. That the Borg Queen ruined the Borg. The Borg were no longer interesting at this point. Dark Frontier was the episode that destroyed and annihilated the Borg. But anyway, Jordan, good or bad retcon?
Oh, terrible retcon. It's bullshit. The whole that whole conversation with the Borg Queen and 7 of 9, like, yes, we wanted you on the Voyager all along, and that's why we chose you. And I'm like, whatever, that's bullshit. You chose her because she was fucking human. That's the only. And what about like Annika's parents being like Borg chasers? Like, I don't think that was even established. That
was a retcon. That was a total retcon.
Yeah. I don't think like they were mentioned before this episode that they were Borg chasers. So, and it looks like it's almost like 2 episodes put into one. So yeah, not only was the fact that 7 of 9 was chosen to be on Voyager in order to assimilate humanity, but 7 of 9's parents, Annika's parents, were Borg chasers, and they were assimilated because they wanted to, study the Borg. So they chased them everywhere they could, and they were assimilated. None of that was established, and I'm fine having that storyline, but make it its own episode and just leave out the part where the Borg Queen is involved. And, they had this XYZ plan all along where, we're going to make you assimilate Voyager, which makes no fucking sense because, like you said, why don't they just send like 100 ships to Earth and just assimilate that instead of the population, instead of fucking with this master plan? Same with the Species 8472. It's the same reason why I hate In the Flesh. It's the same fucking reason why I hate In the Flesh. I hate that episode more, but for the same kind of reason, I think Dark Frontier is just terrible. And unfortunately it's 2 hours long. I hate to so not only is it bad, but it's twice as long as in the flesh. But God, yeah, terrible idea, terrible retcon, makes no sense, and they never bring it back really. But
no, like this whole thing with this virus, like they just totally forget about it, like never bring it up again. Not that that's the worst thing ever, because it's a dumbass idea to begin with, but
Yep.
they just make the Borg even worse. And yeah, no, it just this retcon's just intolerable. And the whole thing about Seven of Nine's parents being Borg chasers, they invented that for this episode, and the fact that they were aware of the Borg before Q even introduced it to the Enterprise. Like, I've seen some people do some crazy mental gymnastics trying to make excuses for that. Shut up. There's no excuse for this. It's terrible. Anyway.
Yeah.
All right, so final retcon of the evening. The Travelers become the Guardians of the Galaxy. So this happened in that spectacular gem that is known as Picard Season 2. So, and it's kind of began in Journey's End, to be honest, because they did retcon the Traveler a bit to be like, oh, I'm going to journey into this and teach you how to do all this stuff and all this. But it got like way worse, where it was like Wesley appeared to, what was her name? Soji's ancestor, whatever bullshit that was. I don't even know what the fuck they were doing there. But anyway, he appeared to her, and
that was cool.
Yeah, wasn't it Corey? Corey, right?
Yeah, I don't care. But anyway, it was God. It was so terrible. Anyway, he appears to her and is like, so we're a group of aliens that protect people, and they're the same group that apparently raised Gary 7. And
oh my God.
Yeah, that's a name we really need to bring back. Yes. And they're the same group that raised Area 7. It's their job to protect the galaxy, the Travelers, and they call them the Travelers. All right, so the whole thing about the Traveler and why he's called the Traveler is because he's a fucking tourist. He travels. That's his whole thing. That's why he's known as a Traveler, because he likes to go around not interfering, but to learn more about other cultures and experience their culture, much like a tourist would when they visit other countries. That's the Traveler. He's not a fucking guardian of the galaxy. So Prodigy kind of redeemed this a little bit by making Wesley a very interesting character and having him be eccentric, and I actually liked his appearance in Prodigy Season 2. But I'm still going to call this a bad retcon, because I think Prodigy basically made, the best out of a bad situation. Like, they actually did the best they could, but it never should have been this way in the first place. Just like Wesley should have never left Starfleet. The whole thing about retconning the Travelers to the Guardians of the Galaxy, and they're the ones that raid Gary 7, is some of the dumbest shit that I've seen. Like the whole Picard Season 2, again, I try to wipe most of that from my memory. But and as much as I do like Wesley in Prodigy Season 2, I would have gladly foregoed that to actually do a decent storyline with Wesley. He should be a fucking Starfleet admiral. But anyway, so Jordan, good retcon or bad retcon?
Hell, I mean, I don't think they even hint, because when I had to when I saw Season 2 of Picard, I had to go back and rewatch all the Traveler episodes, because I'm like, really? I didn't realize they knit the threads of the universe and try to keep all species safe. No, none of that. Total bullshit. They fucking travel, end of story. And then he didn't even really act like the Traveler. Like, it's like, it's Wesley Crusher. I'm Wesley Crusher, and you remember he acted like almost like how he does when he was doing those podcasts. What was it called? The Waiting Room?
The Ready Room.
Yeah, the waiting room. He was like, wasn't that episode of Picard season 2 really great? I can't, that's how he was acting the whole time. And it was it just doesn't act like, he seemed a little too happy to me. I don't know. I just terrible retcon. The whole thing about the Travelers being Guardians of the Galaxy is total bullshit. They shouldn't have even presented with this situation. He should have been an admiral. They could have brought him back in 1,000 different ways in Picard. Like he actually could have been a main character and a good one. Instead, they got this bullshit. And Q loving Picard, Q loving and hugging Picard and being in love with him. That was as far as I'm concerned. Yeah, like I said, we'll have to do a part 2.
Oh my god, yeah, that was so terrible.
So
I mean, to be fair, apparently, Prodigy season 2 was actually written before Picard season 2. It's because of all the delays that got pushed back.
Right.
So they actually wrote it afterwards. But so, I mean, you could say Prodigy season 2 kind of retconned it first, but they never said that Gary 7 was a part of them or that's their job. Well, he did kind of say in Prodigy that it was their job to protect the galaxy. So they did kind of fuck it up there. So, yeah, but anyway, Brandon, good retcon or bad retcon?
As if you need to ask. Horseshit. The Q continuum would like a word. What about all the other omnipotent beings? Won't they get a bit pissed off and say, "Hey, you're not the guardian of the galaxy. That's our job." Is my first thought. And Wesley Crusher, like, oh, good. Like, hey, let's go for a soda, sort of thing, Nope. It's total bullshit. I really didn't want to see Wesley doing that. That was just stupid.
100%.
And I don't remember Picard because I might have watched it once. I don't think I could watch it a second time. I'm trying to erase it from my memory, actually.
Nah, fair enough. Super chat in the chat from Bob, Redneck Lover 22. Thanks so much, Bob.
Thank you.
Saying I like Rutherford to be retconned to be my boyfriend. Well, unfortunately,
you don't care if it's cybernetic, mate.
All right. Yeah. So, yeah.
Hey,
So
have this compiled. Would you like to hear the final results?
Yes, please.
Okay, so we had so Wesley doesn't want to be in Starfleet, bad retcon. The Borg gets a queen, bad. Nog wants to join Starfleet, good. Rom becomes a mechanical genius, good. The prophets become gods, and Sisko is their Jesus, bad. The Vorta lose their psychokinetic powers and become clones, good. Alexander wants to be a warrior, bad. Janeway regrets her decision to destroy their array, bad. All the rest of these are bad. Species 8472 go from space Nazis to thinking Starfleet are the bad guys. Bullshit, bad. Putting 7 of 9 on Voyager was the Borg's plan all along. Bullshit, bad. Travelers become the Guardians of the Galaxy, bad. So a few good retcons, but mostly bad.
So, yeah, I want to know how it breaks down between the three of us. Did you write that down? Because
yes.
which ones did we all agree on, and what were the ones that we were different on? Who was different?
Yep. So there were several that we agreed on for bad. So let's see here. So we were split on Nog wanting to join Starfleet. We were split on Ron becomes a mechanical genius. Split on the prophets become gods and Sisko is their Jesus. We were split on Borg gets a queen. And then everything else, we were all in agreement. So Wesley doesn't want to be in Starfleet. We were in agreement. Travelers become Guardians of the Galaxy. Putting 7 of 9 on Voyager was Borg's plan all along. We were in agreement. Species 8472, not knowing where Delta Quadrant is. We were in agreement. Janeway regrets her decision to destroy the array. We were in agreement. Alexander wants to be a warrior. We were in agreement. Oh, and the Vorta losing their powers and becoming clones. We were in agreement as well.
Was that the only good retcon we were in agreement on?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Correct.
Yeah, most of these were bad. Yes. Was the Borg gets a queen? So you said that was a good retcon?
I think I was like, it's good, then neutral, then bad in stages.
Okay.
So I really wasn't sure
So
what to
that
think.
counted as good. Okay.
I still
Alright.
have a Star Trek First Contact sweater
Nice.
that I bought back in the day. Hasn't fitted me for years, but I still have it. One day I'll wear it back just to annoy your sister.
Yeah, no, she thinks that's a shit movie. I don't.
I like it. Yeah, I like it.
I think it's okay, but I have a lot of issues with it.
Yeah, I like Generations more.
Yes, me too.
But I like
Really?
I do. Yeah.
Generations is so depressing.
It's my favorite Christmas movie.
Your favorite Christmas movie.
Yeah. Because hey, if Die Hard's a fucking Christmas movie, then
That's there you go.
Generations, because he's
Aw.
Picard celebrating Christmas with his
You help
family
me,
in the next.
help me make my castle.
Now, my favorite next gen film was actually Nemesis. So I know
Oh
that
my
was-
God, you're kidding me,
Yeah.
right?
You didn't know that?
Oh, I hated Nemesis. I
Oh,
fucking
God.
hated Nemesis.
I say that a lot. No,
There you go, Jordan. You don't know much as well as you think. you do.
Speaking of Retcon, Data has a fucking brother besides Lore. I mean, are you kidding me?
That doesn't bother me that much. That does actually. The
Bothers
thing with
me.
his mother bothers me more than that.
How many relatives does Data have? Anyway?
Yeah,
Come
god
on.
damn, yeah. But now, see, Nemesis, I think was all right. I think I said in my Generations revisited that it's both a better and a worse movie than Generations. So it was hard for me to compare the two because there's part of Nemesis I think is like I think it has bar none the best ship battle scene in all of Star Trek. And I think the chemistry between Tom Hardy and Patrick Stewart was amazing. And I think he has
Yes,
some really
I agree with
great character moments. But it also is, has terrible shit like the Jeep chase scene, the unnecessary telepathic rape scenes, and some bullshit like that. So it's both good and bad, but I think to me the good outweighs the bad. And it's the Star Trek Next Gen film I most enjoy watching. And that's not to say it's amazing, because my whole take on the Next Gen films is that they're not that good. Like that Next Gen was much better as a TV show, which is the opposite to the original series, which I think was better as movies.
Yeah, once Data started singing in the beginning, I'm like, oh my God, I hope the rest of the movie isn't like this. It wasn't.
Yeah, everyone in the chat's agreeing they hate Nemesis.
What the fuck is
I
his
know.
name, by the way? Is it B1? The Data's brother's name?
Yeah.
What's
No,
his name?
B4.
Before.
Get it? Before because he came before?
Subtlety. No.
Oh my God.
All right, so yeah, that's it for our discussion here. So we'll go ahead and wrap things up. I do want to thank everyone in the chat who joined us. Norman, Tig Black, Bob joining us late, and I think we had oh god, what was it? Automated personnel unit as well. Yeah, and everyone who joined, and also who were didn't jump in the chat. Oh, Tyler jumped in briefly, and anyone watching this in the archives, thanks so much for joining. And of course, big shout out to Jordan. Thanks so much for coming up with this idea and proposing it, and thanks for
Yeah, it was
showing up.
fun. No, I love. Yeah, it's always fun trashing
It's fun, eh?
the Trek we hate, but also pouring over the Trek we love. So
Yeah.
Yep. And Brandon, thanks so much for joining in to be their third opinion. It was great to have
Thank you.
three
I
different
hope we can do it
opinions
again
for you.
sometime.
Awesome. All right. And if you are finding me for the first time, my name is Mark from Channel's Enchantment of Eternity. Mostly do Star Trek reviews. Currently just about to start Voyager in season 3 of DS9, going through every episode because I'm an idiot. But and then
I'm clapping because you're an idiot. I'm clapping because I enjoy your reviews. So
Then in just 2 days, I'll be doing another live stream with my sister Alyssa and Darren from D's Reviews, and we're gonna talk about my number one favorite episode in all of Star Trek.
Jeez, what's that, Mark?
Which is it's obviously cause and effect because my word clue was "I've Got You, Babe," and that's a reference to Groundhog's Day because that's the song that he was listening to every morning in Groundhog's Day, and Groundhog's Day was based off of cause and effect. No, I'm kidding. It's Duet. Duet is the episode I'm going to be talking about. The good old Galatept, Goldar heel, all that jazz. We'll be jumping into that episode in 2 days.
Not just another Cardassian.
All right. So, yeah. Thanks, everyone, for joining, and we will see you later.